lots of constant cheering, and please welcome all the way to stage one and only Uwagboe.
Good evening, St Albans. How are we doing? Yeah, it's great being here in St Albans, home of culture, heritage, fine dining. Unless you count back one restaurant that had to be shut down because the health inspector found 3 different kinds of semen in the food. Now, I'm not gay. Just thought that was worth mentioning. But surely there are worse things that you can find in your food than trace quantities of nut custard. I'm not suggesting people should start doing shots of the stuff, but at least it's not going to cause your entire digestive system to try and evacuate your body from both ends at the same time. A little bit about myself. My name's Paul. I'm 27, which is kind of an awkward age for me because right now all my friends are either getting married, they've got their careers on the right track, they're having children. Whenever people ask me if I have children, I feel like they're taking the piss. So Paul, have you got any children? No, I don't. Yeah, none that you know of, am I right? No, just no. Well, unless any particularly desperate women have been going through my bins, looking for used tissues, discarded socks, or a hollowed out melon with a face drawn on it. Ah, my darling Galia. When she brought her sister Honeydew along, that's when things really got freaky. Speaking of careers, actually, that reminds me of the first office job I ever had. I was doing basic admin work for an insurance company in Stevenage. I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, this story cannot end well. But you know, the time there wasn't a complete waste of my life, because I actually got to learn a lot about women while I was there, or more specifically, the differences between older women and younger women and their attitudes towards sex. The women in my team, they were kind of like my sort of age, like early to mid-20s, and they more or less took the stance that I only do it so my boyfriend won't stop loving me and buying me things. Oh, you want the matching shoes, do you? Well, you know what you have to do now? Turn it around, sister. Yay, we're in a relationship! But the women who sat on the desk next to me, they were a little bit older. They weren't old, but their barely legal days were well and truly behind them. But the things that they said, oh my God, I could no longer count myself as a member of polite society if I was to recite them on stage now. I'll be tweeting these after the show, so don't worry. I've always been a firm believer in the 3 W's. Whip it out, whack it in, wipe it off. She's saying this, she's typing in dry cleaning, curtains, and nut custard into a search engine. You want to get yourself to dildosonline.com. I get mine from there all the time. All the time? Far be it for me to tell anyone how to live their life, but if the phrase dildos per month shows up in your budget, you seriously need to reassess your situation. Fast forward a few years to my next position, I'm on an IT help desk in Cockfosters. Unfortunately, this required me to work some days, some evenings, nights, weekends, bank holidays and things. So while it played havoc with my social life, it was absolutely fantastic for masturbating. And not just in the office either. What? You're in the office on your own for 8 hours overnight with unfettered access to the internet and very little work that requires you to get out of your chair. What did they think was going to happen? Though that does explain why we can never hold on to a cleaning company for more than 6 months. But if you're on the evening shift, it was just as good actually, because you got home at just after midnight. Everyone else would be asleep, and you didn't have to be anywhere until 4 o'clock the next afternoon. You had a little under 5 hours of babe station ahead of you. But it was always really awkward when I had to explain to my flatmates why I'd be asleep on the couch in the morning, wearing a shirt and tie with my hand down my pants. Because they never asked. Fast forward to my current position, and I actually managed to go the first 6 months or so without anyone finding out that I occasionally do stand-up. We had a team building event, and we had to stand around in a circle and tell something interesting about ourselves. And for the record, some people really need to reassess their interpretation of the word interesting. Oh, you own a cat. Well done you. But when it came to my turn, I had three choices. One, every other Wednesday evening, I become a level 13 warlord with magical scale armor and a +2 amulet of resistance. Two, I know all the words to the Umbongo song. Or three, I occasionally get on stage in a room full of strangers and try far too hard to get the term nut custard to permeate the zeitgeist. And people ask me, what does it take to do this sort of thing? And for me, it's a sick mind, low self-esteem, and a remarkably unsatisfying home life. And to that extent, I've taken to the internet in an attempt to find Miss Right. Because why go outside and do something when you can do it from home in your South Park boxer shorts? And that attitude has brought me just as much success as you might imagine. As much to be expected, really. Because currently, the describe yourself in 3 words section of my online dating profile currently reads, nobody's first choice. But my time on this site hasn't brought me a girlfriend or even a great deal of sex. But I have gone down on a lot of women. Seriously, I have eaten so much pussy, I've literally gained weight. But this is one of those websites that lets you answer questions to help you match people with better personalities. And a female friend and I were filling some in together to pass the time. And one of the questions that came up was, do you double dip? Now, for those of you who don't know, double dipping is a social faux pas which involves you dipping the bitten end of your carrot stick back into the low-fat, organic, responsibly sourced, dolphin-friendly hummus. She thought it meant switching from vaginal sex to anal sex without switching the condom in between. Surely she must have thought something was up when she saw that the available answers were, no, that's just plain rude. All the time, it doesn't bother me at all. Or only with close family and friends. So I spent a great deal more time hanging around with her and her family after that. I even gave her younger sister a lift home after a house party once. I remember driving her home, looking across at her in the passenger seat, thinking to myself, she's tired, she's drunk, she's clearly in no fit state to defend herself. And I didn't molest her at all. Not even a little bit. Chivalry is alive and well in the 21st century, I can assure you. But this friend of mine, she's done all right now. She's got a little 4-year-old boy now. And up until recently, I had no idea how hard raising a child was. If you have any idea what happens when you half-ass a child's upbringing, you're looking at it. Now, I'm not saying I was raised by bad parents, but if any of my kids turned out like me, I'd ask myself some serious questions. Actually, if any of my kids turned out like me, I'd just be grateful they weren't half melon. Thank you very much. My name's Uwagboe. You've been great.